Dear leaders, ladies, gentlemen, and friends, good afternoon, and good morning to our guests participating from the Netherlands. Welcome to the Sino-Dutch Pharmaceutical Logistics Corporation online conference. This conference is organized by Consulate-General of the Kingdom of Netherlands in Chongqing, Urban Logistics Branch of China Communications and Transportation Association, Holland International Distribution Council, and China Logistics Times. I am Yan Xiaoqing, Consultant of Logistics, Water and Environment Sector at the Netherlands Consulate in Chongqing, and Senior Manager Supply Chain Solution China of HIDC. It's an honor for me to be your host during this conference today. Reliable delivery of healthcare products can be life-saving, as medicines nowadays are being produced and used all over the world. Safe and secure international pharma logistics has become crucial. Today's event on this complex and high-end industry will focus on cooperation between the Netherlands and China in pharma supply chain. What can we learn from each other, and where can we improve, and what business opportunities do we see? Please allow me to introduce the leaders and guest speakers of today's conference. Mr. Bak Bao, Counselor for Infrastructure, Water Management and Environment in the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in China. Mr. Ni Wei, President of Urban Logistics Branch of China Communications and Transportation Association, President of China Logistics Times. Mr. Jasper Egben, Senior Manager Supply Chain Solution of Holland International Distribution Council. Professor Jiang Xu, Director of China Chongqing Logistics Expert Committee, Dean of Logistics College of Beijing Wuzi University. Mr. Yang Spassen, Managing Director of Bachmann Pharma Consultant. Ms. Gina Qing, Deputy General Manager of Beijing Sino SCM Limited Company, member of the Working Group of Medical Logistics Standard of National Logistics Standardization Technical Committee. Mr. Canon Chen, Jingdong General Manager of Europe. Ms. Enrica Colongi, Global Head Pharmaceutical Logistics at Air France-KLM, Martin Air Cargo. Mr. Stephen Liu, Vice President of Railcan Group. Mr. Eric Williams, Business Development Director of Movianto. Mr. Zhi Xiaohua, President of Ruhrtech. Mr. Oscar Farman, Managing Director of New Sokwe Logistics Netherlands. Mr. William Li, Head of European Branch of Quicktron. We also have following leaders attending this conference: Mr. Kun Suzhu, Consul General of the Kingdom of Netherlands Chongqing. Mr. Song Ronghua, President of Silkway Cities Alliance. Mr. Wang Jiawei, Director of Division of Bilateral Cooperation, National Medical Products Administration of China. Mr. Chen Hongbin, Vice President of International Shipping Enterprise Alliance and Chief Editor of China Shipping Gazette. Mrs. Yang Xiao, Vice President of Urban Logistics Branch of China Communications and Transportation Association, Chief Editor of China Logistics Times. Let's sincerely welcome all the leaders and guest speakers here. In order to ensure the quality of the conference, our conference is always muted, and only the speakers will be unmuted. In addition, due to the time constraints, we do not have an interactive Q&A session, but you can still ask questions by sending text messages to the chat window. Participants who ask questions should indicate to which speaker the question was asked, so that our colleagues can send questions to the speakers after the meeting, collect answers, and reply in our WeChat group. For participants who are willing to maintain contact with our speakers or discuss about potential cooperation, are welcome to join our WeChat group by scanning QR code on our background screen. That's the introduction in English. Now I will do the introduction in Chinese. After the opening introduction, the rest of our conference will be in English. 尊敬的各位领导、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家好！欢迎参加由荷兰驻重庆总领事馆、荷兰国际物流协会、中国交通运输协会城市物流分会、物流时代周刊联合主办的中荷国际医药物流合作在线交流会。我是本次会议主持人，荷兰王国驻重庆总领事馆物流、环境和水领域顾问，荷兰国际物流协会供应链解决方案中国区高级。很荣幸能够担任本次会议主持人。可靠的交付医药健康产品可以挽救生命。随着当今世界各地药品的生产和使用，安全可靠的国际药品物流已经变得至关重要。今天有关这一复杂高端的产业的线上活动将集中探讨荷兰和中国在药品供应链上的合作。我们可以从中学到什么？我们可以在哪里改进？以及我们看到哪些商业机会？下面请允许我介绍出席今天会议的各位领导和嘉宾。他们是荷兰驻华大使馆基础设施与水管理部参赞孔博文先生，中国交通运输协会城市物流分会会长、物流时代周刊社长倪伟先生，荷兰国际物流协会供应链解决方案高级经理 Jasper Ehben 先生，中国冷链物流专家委员会主任、北京物流学院院长姜旭教授，巴格曼制药咨询公司董事总裁 Jan Spassen 先生，北京盛世华人供应链管理有限公司副总经理，全国物流标准化技术委员会医药物流标准工作组委员秦金娜女士，京东欧洲业务项目负责人钱凯南先生，法航荷航集团荷兰马丁货运全球医药物流总监Enrica Colongis 女士，瑞康医药集团股份有限公司副总裁刘俊宁先生 ，Movianto 业务发展总监 Eric Williams 先生，杭州鲁尔新材料科技有限公司董事长支晓华先生，荷兰新丝路物流公司总裁 Oscar Van 先生，上海快仓智能科技有限公司欧洲区负责人李栋先生。出席本次会议的嘉宾领导还有荷兰王国驻重庆总领事孔思哲先生，丝绸之路城市联盟会长宋荣华先生，中国药监局科技和国际合作司港澳台办公室双边合作处处长王家威先生，中交协航运物流分会副会长、中国航务周刊总编辑陈宏斌先生，中交协城市物流分会副会长、物流时代周刊总编辑杨潇女士。对以上各位领导和嘉宾的莅临表示诚挚的欢迎。为保证会议质量，我们的会议始终保持全场静音状态，只有发言嘉宾会解除静音。另外，由于时间限制，我们没有互动问答环节，但是仍然可以通过聊天窗口向我们的嘉宾提问。请提问的参会者写明问题是向哪位嘉宾提的，便于我们会后统一整理发给嘉宾，收集答案并回复。谢谢。Now, first of all, let's welcome Mr. Bart Pauws, Counselor for Infrastructure, Water Management and Environment in Embassy of Kingdom of the Netherlands in China, to give us a speech. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Shirley Yan, for the introduction, and thank to all of the participants and speakers today to make this conference happen. I hope you can all hear me. And I want to say special thanks to Mr. Ni Wei, President of Urban Logistics Branch of China Communications and Transportations Association, who together with the CG in Chongqing organized this conference. I will keep it brief and tell you something about Dutch logistics and what we do in China as an embassy. I want to talk with you about three topics: transport policy in the Netherlands, position of the Netherlands in logistics, and the efforts we are making in China from our ministry. Here you can see the mission of the ministry that I work for. I initially worked for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and am based in Beijing as a counselor on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are working in the Netherlands on a core network of national and international connections and multimodal hubs. The international core network will include the main hinterland connections for goods from the hubs and so-called brain ports and green ports. The central government is working actively with the logistics sector and local and regional authorities on the national section of this international network. This should lead to a single logistics system for rail, water and road transport that is well connected to neighboring countries like Germany. Expanding infrastructure isn't the only way to improve mobility. Making better use of existing main roads, railways and waterways can also increase transport capacity. This results in more reliable travel times. To this end, central government will take various measures and invests a lot of money every year to make this happen. Here are some figures about the Netherlands as a logistical hubs. I think this is one of it's a nice picture showing a little bit of the Netherlands, how it's placed in Europe and where we're good at. As you all know, Netherlands, for a small country as we are, we play rather a key role in our globalized economy by connecting producers and consumers worldwide. Our success is based on an alignment of cutting-edge infrastructure and world-class service providers and our coastal location at the heart of Europe. Exemplary for our position are the Port of Rotterdam, Europe's largest port, and Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, a major European cargo and passenger hub. Both are supported by world-class logistics service providers and an extensive network of road, rail, waterways, and pipelines. This powerful and quite unique combination has allowed us to become the gateway to Europe, accounting for significant parts of European road and water transport. The Netherlands also makes extensive use of IT to deliver optimized supply chain solutions, for example, in time-critical areas like food, pharmaceutical products, and flowers. In addition, the country is making pioneering efforts in environmentally sustainable logistics and silent logistics. When it comes to the Netherlands and China, we have a very good cooperation with the Ministry of Transportation, for instance, in China, a bilateral cooperation based on a memorandum of understanding for more than 20 years now. This long-standing cooperation between the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and MOT has created a solid foundation to frame the cooperation. Here I give you some examples of the cooperation between our two countries. We are working together on, for instance, zero-emission vehicles policy and smart and green shipping as well. Smart and green shipping is rather a new topic for us, and also the Ministry of Transport in China is very interested in working together with us. And we are exploring the further cooperation on this. As you all know, this year is quite challenging. I've been in the Netherlands since February already and trying to adapt our plans we have with China this year, and hopefully we can still manage to make things happen the rest of the year. For this year, we are making a memorandum of understanding with the National Railway Agency to share knowledge and information on the corridor between the Netherlands and China for railway. We will also organizing a mission with railway companies to the west of China to explore further cooperation, and together with the Customs Department, organize a so-called fast lane trajectory between the Netherlands and China to make sure our goods and the goods from China can get to the Netherlands on the most efficient way. And what's relevant for today is that we are also doing research with Dutch University of Wageningen into cold chain logistics in the Netherlands and China, also for pharmaceutical products and food and flowers, for instance. And together with the Civil Aviation Authority of China, we hopefully will sign an MOU this year on the transport of dangerous goods. So that's a little bit of the cooperation we have with China. Hopefully this year we can make progress on that. But we don't do this alone, especially when it comes to all of my work in China. We work closely with the Customs Department. They have a very important role, of course, but also the Ministry of Health and the Agricultural Ministry, of course, are very important partners for us to make sure that the transport of all goods, pharmaceutical goods, agricultural goods, are efficient as possible. This was a little bit of an introduction from my side. Thank you very much for the opportunity today to share my first thoughts with you. And I hope you have a very, very useful conference. And thanks again to all of you to attend this special way of conferencing. Thank you.
Thank Mr. Paus for your introduction about Sino-Dutch bilateral cooperation and work plan on transportation. Now let's welcome Mr. Ni Wei, President of Urban Logistics Branch of China Communications and Transportation Association and President of China Logis Times, to give us a speech. And our speakers can please remember to open your camera. Thank you. Mr. Ni Wei, are you there?
哦，我以为我在讲了，对不起啊，刚才我以为已经解除了静音了。尊敬的孔博文参赞，女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家好。在全球新冠疫情关键时刻，召开这样一次会议不同寻常，意义重大。首先，我谨代表本次会议的主办单位中国交通运输协会城市物流分会物流时代周刊，对出席会议的中荷嘉宾以及通过物流加网和荷兰铁路货运网收看会议直播的专业人士表示热烈欢迎，对荷兰驻重庆总领馆与我会的本次合作表示感谢。全球范围的新冠疫情肆虐，让我们深刻体会到构建应急高效的国际医药物流体系的重要作用和意义，同时也让我们深刻感受到，随着中国医药进出口运输的硬件设施升级，医药冷链物流体系标准化和质量管控体系专业化的建立健全，中欧铁路运输在国际医药物流解决方案中的优势愈发明显，这为“一带一路”国际医药物流领域合作奠定了坚实的基础。作为中国境内唯一聚焦城市物流业发展的社团机构，我们见证了中国城市在国际医药贸易和流通方面的努力，借中欧铁路运输和国际航空物流的高速发展，一些中国城市建设国际医药集散中心的雄心壮志，让我们非常的欣慰。这将带来中国在国际医药供应链体系中质的飞跃，帮助城市在这一领域取得突破，是我们的责任和义务，也是组织这次活动的目的所在。在中国，我们参与举办的中国国际物流节、中国进口博览会、物流高峰论坛等活动，在推动国际物流合作方面发挥了重要的作用。我们 服务的范围不仅是中国城市和企业，也包括像荷兰、德国这样的物流发达的国家。荷兰位于欧洲的交通中心地区，是一带一路铁路运输的重要目的国，在中国与欧洲的国际物流合作中发挥着重要的作用。荷兰的冷链行业处于全球领先水平，尤其是在医药冷链物流方面，可以为中国提供许多借鉴和经验交流。全球范围的疫情虽然带来了很大的困难，但危中蕴藏的机会，它实际上为中欧医药物流的合作创造了机会，给我们时间，让我们去思考，挖掘国际物流领域新的运输服务方式，去抓住更多的机会，弥补损失和应对挑战。希望本次会议中外嘉宾的交流能为中荷医药物流合作开辟新的天地，也为中国城市物流的发展带来新的机遇。谢谢大家。好，我的话完了，谢谢。
Thank Mr. Niwei for your recognition of the cooperation between Netherlands Consulate and your association and the value of our conference at this particular time. Our next speaker is Mr. Jasper Echting, Senior Manager Supply Chain Solution of HIDC. He will share Dutch pharma logistic proposition. Let's welcome.
Thank you, Shirley, and thanks everyone for your time and attendance today. My name is Jasper Echting. I'm a Senior Manager Supply Chain Solutions at the Holland International Distribution Council. During my presentation today, I will inform you why the Netherlands is the key hub in Europe for your supply chain. This is probably a subject I can talk about for more than an hour, but as we have only 15 minutes today, I will keep the subject to the highlights today. In summary, over the past decade, the global life sciences and healthcare sector has experienced healthy growth and is expected to continue growing. The European Union is an increasingly interesting market for companies in the pharma and medical devices sector. Apart from a well-developed healthcare system, Europe has a large consumer base, an aging population, and rising healthcare expenditure. To scale up your European operations, the Netherlands is the perfect hub for a number of reasons. First of all, we have a central location within the European consumer market. We have excellent connectivity to Europe and all other continents. We share a high global import and export flows. We have world-class fiscal and business environment and a strong logistics base for pharma distribution. In the following slides, I will go into more detail per subject. But before I go into details, it's not only our opinion that the Netherlands is the logistics hub for life sciences. It's recognized by the European Union as a model country for its transport capabilities and infrastructure. The World Economic Forum and IMD, both world-renowned institutions, ranked the Dutch air and port infrastructure as the #1 globally. And DHL, which is the world's largest 3PL, has recognized our connectedness, measured by cross-border flows of trade, capital, information, and people, as the highest in the world. These achievements are results of being the European gateway for many years, and the Dutch government and logistics industry work together to keep this position in the future. The Netherlands is centrally located right in between Europe's main healthcare markets, being Germany, France, and the UK. And having a central location is a big benefit. From the Dutch region, 170 million consumers are served within a 500-kilometer radius, and approximately 244 million consumers within a 1,000-kilometer radius. Easy access to European overnight transport networks ensure quick and cost-effective delivery in those markets. The Netherlands is home to sophisticated logistics service providers specialized in medical devices and pharmaceutical supply chain. And we are economically and politically stable. The central location also provides short lead times by regular road transport, and I'm talking about less than truckload and full truckload, which is the most economical way to transport goods on a pallet to European destinations. In terms of lead times, in Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, it's 24 hours. Germany, 1 to 2 days. France, 2 to 3 days. And that is also for the UK. So within about 2 days, most of the European continent can be covered. If you look at parcel shipments, there's a wide variety of providers available. For Express, we have UPS, DHL, and FedEx. They all have their main air hub within 2 hours from the Dutch logistics hotspots. UPS based in Cologne, DHL in Brussels, and FedEx in Liège. We have road parcel networks available like DPD and GLS, and we have the national carriers such as Royal Mail, bpost, PostNL, Couriers, and La Poste. From the Netherlands, daily shuttles travel to their hubs directly to inject parcels into those national networks and get a high service level for domestic rates. And these direct in-feeds are increasingly used. So now you know that the Netherlands is located in the gravity point of the European consumer market. It's also home to the largest seaport and the third largest cargo airport in Europe. This, combined with the proximity of other major hubs, such as UPS, FedEx, and DPD integrators, makes the south of the Netherlands the sweet spot for pharma logistics. The Netherlands is a true logistics hub for pharma and medical devices. We have the fifth highest import and fourth largest export figures in the world, at 52.7 and 73.1 billion euros respectively. Even despite the fact that our domestic market is 7 times smaller than that of Germany, so it's quite an impressive feat. Most medical supplies imported in the Netherlands are destined to other European markets, such as UK, Germany, and France, that together represent 55% of the EU market. The main reasons are that Europe's main entry point, the port of Rotterdam and Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, are both located in the Netherlands, and many of the European distribution centers of medtech and pharma companies are located here as well. Now let's dive into our fiscal and business environment. Having a small country and major goods flows that are handled every day, it's crucial that imports and exports are dealt with in an efficient manner. To that end, the Dutch customs procedures are highly developed and digitized, sometimes even allowing customs clearance before the goods enter the country. To ensure everything keeps running smoothly, the Dutch customs authorities employ dedicated teams of experienced specialists who can assign client managers to individual companies. Most of the logistics companies in the country are authorized economic operators that have direct digital links with customs, making the customs process even more efficient. As a result, in 2016, the United Nations declared the Dutch customs to be the most trade facilitating in the world, comparing 119 countries around the world. This research looked at various factors influencing trade facilitation, such as transparency, number of formalities, institutional arrangements and cooperation, digitization, and cross-border paperless trade facilitation. The Netherlands is truly regarded as a model country for customs around the world. The European Union has a value-added tax, which is a value-added tax on goods and services within the EU. We have different VAT rates across the member states, ranging from 17% in Luxembourg to 27% in Hungary. The VAT rate in the Netherlands is 21% on most goods. VAT administration in Europe can be quite an administrative burden on businesses, and the way it's dealt with varies widely per EU member state. Deloitte has researched the VAT attractiveness in the EU member states and has concluded that the Netherlands offers the most comprehensive and business-friendly VAT implementation of all EU member states. This study by Deloitte has been performed on 14 different elements, such as VAT filing period, complexity of VAT returns, VAT grouping, payments of VAT refunds, deferment of import VAT, and VAT debt relief. But one of the most important reasons to import your goods via the Netherlands is our VAT deferment system. Usually when goods are imported into the European Union, VAT becomes due. This amount can later be reclaimed from the tax authorities after you sell the product. In order to facilitate trade and to bring down this administrative burden for companies, the Dutch government made it possible to use the so-called postponed accounting or VAT deferment system. Under this system, VAT does not have to be paid at the moment of importation. Instead, it can be postponed to the periodical VAT return. On this VAT return, the postponed import VAT is declared, but can be deducted at the same time, which results in considerable cash flow and interest earning benefits for importers. Companies that use the Netherlands as the point of entry into the EU can make use of this VAT deferment scheme by appointing a fiscal representative. You don't have to start your own entity per se. Various partners in the Netherlands can act as your fiscal representative. The most common are logistics service providers, legal firms, customs brokers, and fiscal advisors. When the goods are stored in the Netherlands and then shipped to another EU country, a so-called cross-border sale, and it concerns a B2B sale, you can invoice at a 0% VAT rate to your corporate customers. And this will make you as a supplier very attractive to your customers because you are not asking your customers to finance the VAT either. Thanks to our excellent air and seaport infrastructure, the Netherlands has a strong logistics base for pharma logistics. Due to the time limit for today, I will highlight the Pharma Logistics Gateway at Schiphol. But if you want to learn more about the capabilities of the Port of Rotterdam, feel free to contact me after the seminar. There's a lot of information to share on that, on the Port of Rotterdam as well. IATA has established new guidelines to ensure the transparency and proper conditions for pharma air shipments. These protocols are called the Center of Excellence for Independent Validators, also known as the CEIV Pharma, which are set out specific and clear standards for handling air freight shipments of pharmaceutical goods. CEIV Pharma aims at worldwide consistency and goes well beyond the transport and storage requirements as mentioned in the GDP guidelines. At Schiphol, multiple partners in the chain achieved this CEIV certification. The Pharma Gateway Amsterdam was founded by Air Cargo Netherlands, Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, and 23 logistics companies. The purpose of Pharma Gateway Amsterdam is to offer shippers of pharmaceutical products an IATA CEIV Pharma certified closed air freight supply chain. This way, ensuring quality, efficiency, and transparency of pharma shipments. Via the Pharma Gateway Amsterdam, you get fast customs processes, real-time access to temperature and data at any time. As I said, IATA CEIV Pharma certified logistics. All the 23 companies hold that license, and direct air connections to 322 destinations, but also connections via sea, rail, and road transport. Besides our infrastructure, we have a strong logistics base thanks to our logistics service providers that are expert at supporting your pharmaceutical supply chain. They offer a wide range of services, including bonded warehousing, which I would like to focus on this slide. Normally, when a company imports products in the EU, import duties are applied to the product. Contrary to value-added tax, the import duties are an actual cost and rates are the same for all EU countries. They are paid when the product is imported into the EU. However, when it's possible to place goods in the EU territory while they are not yet cleared for free circulation. In that case, the product should be placed in a customs bonded warehouse. When goods from a third non-EU country are placed in a customs warehouse, no customs duties, tariffs, or VAT is due. When it's not yet clear if the goods will be shipped to EU customers or they are destined for regions outside the EU, it makes sense to put them in a bonded warehouse to avoid paying import duties twice. Many of our third-party logistics service providers in the Netherlands offer bonded warehousing as an option. It's not limited to free trade zones like in China, but it can be located anywhere in the country as long as the warehouse has an AEO license and offers bonded warehousing. Products can be stored in a customs bonded warehouse in the Netherlands for an unlimited period of time, and value-added logistics are allowed to a certain extent. In other EU countries, the time for bonded warehousing is limited. For example, in Germany, it's 1 year. After 1 year, you need to custom clear your goods. So the Netherlands, with an unlimited bonded warehousing time period, is quite an attractive proposition. In pharma and biotech, it's common that third-party logistics companies perform value-added logistics on products after entering the European market. This way, a product can be made market-specific, close to the end customer. Activities like labeling, repacking, and repacking are lower value-add, but higher value-added logistics like testing, sampling, and direct-to-patient distribution are increasingly applied, and all are done under the strict guidelines of GDP, GMP, and/or CEIV. And we also have value-added services. The companies can support you with multilingual customer and back office service. Activities like order intake in local languages, dispatch of invoices, or the order to cash management are examples of value-added services that are available to you. Our service providers can maintain direct contact with your clients, like hospitals, pharmacies, wholesalers, sales reps, etc. And this allows you to focus on R&D, manufacturing, sales, marketing, while everything in between can be outsourced to specialists that already know the European market. So basically, if you choose the Netherlands as a hub for pharma logistics, you become part of a life sciences ecosystem in the Netherlands. And that sets us apart and makes us even more attractive for foreign companies to set their logistics pharma supply chain up in the Netherlands. Our ecosystem includes 3,100 R&D life science companies, 420 biopharmaceutical companies, 8 university medical centers, 13 universities, of which 12 are research universities, and 4 specialized in technology and engineering. In total, there are 65,000 employees employed in the pharmaceutical sector. There are 300 public-private partnerships and 26 campuses. So if you are planning to enter the EU market and need logistics advice or introductions to the pharma logistics industry in the Netherlands, feel free to contact us. The Holland International Distribution Council is a private, non-profit organization providing matchmaking services for logistics partnerships in Europe. We represent the Dutch logistics sector and help international companies make a smooth entry into the European market through the region's leading gateway, the Netherlands. We do so by providing advice and helping you find the right logistics partner that suits your needs best. Based on our extensive member base, years of experience and in-depth knowledge of European logistics. And best of all our advisory services are free of charge, totally confidential, and without any obligation. So please, if you have any questions or need our support, feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Jasper Egmond gave us a very good overview of Dutch logistics strength, especially in pharma sector. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Professor Jiang Xu, Director of China Coaching Logistics Expert Committee, Dean of Logistics College of Beijing Wuzhi University, to share the current situation and development of pharmaceutical cold chain logistics in China. Welcome.
各位来宾，大家下午好，我是北京无字学院的江旭。北京无字学院呢是中国开设物流专业的最早的高校，也是中国呢开设物流专业最全的高校。
Good afternoon, dear guests. Beijing Wuzhi University is the first university in China who set up the logistics major, and is also in China the university who set up most majors in logistics.
这次新冠疫情的爆发呢，为全球的国际医药冷链合作呢带来很好的机遇。
This time, the burst of the novel coronavirus bring new chance to the international medical cold chain cooperation.
今天呢，我从中国的医药冷链的政策、市场、问题、挑战、趋势5个方面进行介绍。
Today, I will introduce from these 5 aspects, that is the China medical cold chain policy, market problems, challenge, and trend.
希望通过大家共同努力，共同推动“一带一路”国际医药冷链物流的合作。
I wish through our both sides work, we can push forward the One Belt, One Road international medical cold chain logistics.
最后想说，物流立国，冷链利民，供应链兴国。
Finally, I want to say the logistics can be the base, the foundation of the country, and the cold chain benefit people's life. Supply chain will burst the economy of the country.
好，下面开始。
The topic of my speech today is current situation and development of pharmaceutical cold chain logistics in China. My speech is mainly divided into the following 5 parts. The first part is policies and standard. In terms of the time of issuance, the relevant regulatory documents of pharmaceutical cold chain started late, and they were issued gradually after 2050. At present, China's pharmaceutical cold chain industry is still in the early stage of development. On the one hand, it contains a huge market development space. On the other hand, it indicates that the industry competition will become more and more severe. In terms of the content of the documents, a focus of the current pharmaceutical cold chain regulation is on regulation of drugs, medical devices, and vaccines, and there are still blank areas. For example, the third-party medical laboratory cold chain transport related standards and specifications. The implementation time of China's pharmaceutical cold chain logistics standard is basically the same as the implementation of regulation, focusing on 2017 and 2018. Among them, there are a lot of industry standards are in the preparation stage. In the second part, current situation. At present, China's market scan continues to grow. It has expanded that by 2020, the total amount of China's pharmaceutical logistics will exceed 4 trillion yuan, and the scan of China's pharmaceutical cold chain market will be about 50 billion yuan in 2020. And the infrastructure continued to expand, including pharmaceutical logistics storage area and pharmaceutical transport vehicles. It can be seen from Figure 4 that the proportion of shady warehouse in China is as high as 66.8%, while that of cold storage is only 3.1%. At the same time, a large number of pharmaceutical cold chain logistics has emerged. 50 major technologies, including refrigerated truck, temperature, recorder, GPS, mobile printer, and so on. Pharmaceutical cold chain facilities and equipment are the foundation, and standardized transportation operation is the guarantee. The key point of transportation operation mainly include warehousing, storage, outbound, and transportation. Meanwhile, emergency merchandise and plan, training, verification, and other links should be established. Everyone familiar with SF Express, JD.com, China Post vigorously developed third-party pharmaceutical cold chain logistics. The advantage lies in ourselves is to provide diversified pharmaceutical cold chain logistics services for traditional pharmaceutical enterprises. And JD.com is the first to try to medical devices businesses. And the China Post, according to its strong network advantages, it has seized most of the market in rural area. There is a good interaction with the local government and cooperation with national pharmaceutical distribution enterprises. It's the unique feature of China's Post distribution of pharmaceutical logistics. Current pharmaceutical circulation enters a period of structure adjustment, driven by new technologies and new kinetic energy. The Internet plus drug circulation will reshape the ecological pattern of the pharmaceutical circulation industry. But there are still several problems in the process of development. First of all, China's pharmaceutical cold chain logistics system is still not perfect. 43% of the risk of chain break occurs in 4 scenarios in the process of the goods transportation, like handover between pharmaceutical plants and ground transportation, or between ground transportation and airport cargo station. In addition to the risk of broken chain, relevant standards need to be improved, and there is a lack of overall planning and coordination of upstream and downstream. The high cost of pharmaceutical cold chain is also a very prominent problem. The market accounts for 10% of the total market share of the pharmaceutical logistics industry, but consume more than 20% of the logistic cost in the 10% market share. The pharmaceutical cold chain industry faced the following 6 challenges. Relevant laws and regulation continue to improve. Pharmaceutical cold chain logistics is highly professional. Regional economic disparity, increased industry competition, high information technology requirements, and the industry is characteristic by high security requirements, sudden demand, and high cost. In the future, China's pharmaceutical cold chain logistics industry will present 4 major development trends. With the continuous improvement of the demand and the standard for pharmaceutical cold chain logistics and production, coverage of third-party pharmaceutical cold chain logistics enterprises are integrated, which makes the logistic goal more clear and the logistic system gradually formed. With the popularity of the international and the promotion of online payment, the patient with minor illness are more likely to receive online remote consultation. In the future, the pharmaceutical industry will trade more on internet. Nowadays, large-scale e-commerce platform has promoted online consultation and online scan of drugs. With the rapid rise of pharmaceutical e-commerce, the demand for cold chain logistics industry will continue to increase, which require the specialization of pharmaceutical cold chain logistics, and the circulation efficient of cold chain logistics is more important. The frequent occurrence of drug safety indicates has attracted the attention of the masses and government, and the important guarantee for drug safety is cold chain logistics. At present, there are still many deficiencies in the relevance provision of the cold chain logistics. The indicators of pharmaceutical cold chain logistics also need to be gradually improved, and the supervision of the logistic process will continue to strengthen. so that the industry standard will continue to improve and promote the development of pharmaceutical cold chain logistics to mature. Developed countries have been able to carry out information-based management in drug cold chain logistics, which makes cold chain logistics industry carry out efficiently. Our country must learn foreign advanced cold chain logistic technology, complete the tracing of the whole process information of drugs, and maintain the environment of the drugs through information feedback to maintain the efficacy, so as to make production, storage, and transportation more intelligent and controllable. This concludes my report. Thank you for listening.
Thank Professor Jiang for the comprehensive introduction about the current situation and development of pharma cold chain logistics in China, from policy, market, problem to challenges and trends. Now we will give 1 minute for the participants who missed the QR code of our WeChat group. If you haven't joined our WeChat group, just scan the QR code on the background drop. For our speakers, please remember to open your camera during the presentation if convenient for you. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Jans Wasson, Managing Director of Bachmann Pharma Consult, to share impact of laws and guidelines on pharma supply chain in the EU. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Trying to share my screen. There we go. Thank you for having me giving this small presentation on the impacts of law and regulation and guidelines on the pharmaceutical supply chain. I will use the next 15 minutes to provide a high-level overview on the applicable regulatory framework that you need to understand if you want to export your products to the Netherlands, or to Europe, sorry. First of all, a small introduction of my firm. We are a boutique consultancy company. We have about 11 principal consultants, and we serve pharmaceutical and medical device companies. Our services include advice on supply chain license designs, so what kind of licenses you need to export. And then we have some kind of a GMP licensing platform for you to have a cost-effective market entry. And then, of course, there are regulatory affairs and pharmacovigilance activities within our firm, because these items are all needed for your in-market model. So let's start with the understanding of the single EU market. First of all, we always talk about Europe being a geographical location. But if we talk about the market, the EU market, we have to realize that we are sovereign states within the single market. And currently we have 27 member states, as the UK has left, which is a very important fact that happened this year, 31 of January 2020. And some of the complexities that you have to deal with is the fact that we have in the single market still 24 different languages. And if you would include Norway and Iceland, which are also part of the European area, you have 26 languages. And why is that important? Because your sales pack need to cover all these languages. And that makes it almost obligatory to do some product finishing within the market instead of at the manufacturing site outside the EU. So, what is the foundation? The foundation of the European market is built on treaties. Lots of treaties started in 1951 after the Second World War, all the way up to 2007 with the Treaty of Lisbon. I will not go through all these treaties, but the important ones are, of course, the Treaty of Maastricht, where we introduced the euro as a monetary union, and the Treaty of Nice as we expanded with 13 more member states. But that's only the primary legislation, that is the high-level legislation, and this is not something you have to deal with. The fact you have to deal with is the secondary legislation, and we call that the regulations and directives. And the difference between the two is that the directive is more like a, let's say a regulation is a rule, a law, and is legally binding to all member states, while a directive is focused on the member states and they have to implement the law into their own national legislation, which creates national differences within the European Union on how things are going to be organized. The second, this slide, I want to point out that all those regulations and directives are in the end of the day just laws, and they are then transformed into guidelines, which makes it more practical on how these regulations and directives should be read or interpreted. And for the pharmaceutical market, the important one is the EudraLex. It's the book that's called The Rules Governing Medicinal Products in the European Union, and it has about 10 volumes. And those volumes then are separated into product-specific legislation and process-specific legislation. So either you are on the product side and trying to get a marketing authorization, or you will go to the process side, and that is what happens within your manufacturing plant. So volume 4s, they are applicable, and you probably know the GMP rules. This is just very high level, and I also just want to point out that the directives and regulations' sole purpose is that it is intended to safeguard the public health. And what you need to remember is that the important directive is the 2001/83, while for the regulations, the volume 4 on the GMP guidelines is one you should always be aware of. So this brings me to the second part of my presentation, going more into a little bit more of details. So going from China to the EU, you will need these three stakeholders to be taken care of. So you need a marketing authorization, you need a marketing authorization holder, a EU entity, and you need an EU manufacturer. So more detailed, how do you get the marketing authorization? Of course, there are 4 application routes to apply for a marketing authorization. One goes through the centralized procedure where you cover all 27 countries, plus Norway and Iceland and Liechtenstein. The other ones are decentral. Then you take a group of countries, you choose which groups you want to make. And the last application route is a national one. Then you choose one country. For all these application routes, you will need the EU entity, a EU legal company, to act as your marketing authorization holder. And you have to seriously regard your manufacturing supply chain from starting materials all the way up to import and market release to the EU, because all these manufacturing steps are included in your marketing authorization. What else do you need? You need European citizens to act as your QP and QPPV, so either for the pharmacovigilance or for the quality affair. You will have a site clearance by an EU authority because you are located in China, and you still will have, you will need, they will visit your site in order to clear whether it is GMP compliant. But you also, your API or your active substance manufacturers are going to be visited, but then by the qualified person, because you need a QP declaration for that site. What else do you need? A pharmacovigilance system, some basics, and you will need some time to get the marketing authorization approved. So 1 to 2 years is not a very strange timeline. It can be a little bit faster, but it can also be a lot slower. So, what else do we need? We need the manufacturing import license. So if you are a Chinese manufacturer and you wish to export your products to Europe, don't forget that you will need a EU importer, and the EU importer is interpreted as an EU manufacturer that will take over your responsibility, but not all the control for your product. The last manufacturing step that you are probably also going to perform within the European Union is the packaging, the final packaging and the labeling and the serialization. And that is also called the value-added logistics. Two steps all fall within the scope of the responsibility of your import site. As your products are coming from outside the European Union, you will need a testing lab if this comes from China, and you will need that batch release site that is mostly covered by the import license. Timelines to get such a license are also 6 to 9 months, so it's good to be prepared and start with these processes before you submit the marketing authorization to the European Union. Once this is all approved and you have a marketing authorization holder and marketing authorization, you will have a wholesale distribution license. You will need a wholesale distribution license because also the distribution part to the various warehouses and pharmacists and hospitals are all covered with these kind of wholesale licenses. And on these licenses, you will also need a responsible person. The application there is also 4 to 6 months, so it needs to be done in advance so you can make your go-to-market model operational by the time you have your marketing authorization in place. Then I get a little bit more detail, or without saying too much, using too much work or too much words. I want to show that when you are doing these go-to-market modeling, you have to realize that there are different interactions between the GMP, the quality, and the finance side within the company. So within the GMP supply chain model, you have the marketing authorization holder, the drug product manufacturer, and the QC lab that are the main points for entering the European Union. While in the finance side, you have a IP holder, a principal company, and this model is much more complicated, or at least it looks more complicated. But the only thing I want to point out is that there is a separation of the physical flow and the finance flow. And that means that you have to do a mapping study to understand how materials are moved through the companies, through the various companies, the CMOs, and through the CMO and the principal company. And you need to map where the physical flow and the financial ownership is going to change within the process. So I do not want to further elaborate on this model, but in a very short summary would be that these modelings need to take place, and the Netherlands are very popular for it because there is some strong advantages to the Dutch VAT system. It means that you can have a VAT deferment at the import side, meaning that you have a cash flow advantage. And of course, once you are within the European Union, so once you have made your entry in one of the European member states, then you have cross-border sales with 0% tax. And one of the last examples or positive items of the Netherlands is, of course, that you have a fast customs clearance if all the paperwork is in order. And don't forget that you will need the MIA license at that time. So, in conclusion, what I wanted to point out, without going into all the different legislations and rules and regulations, I just want to show that there is a strong interaction between both stakeholders, finance and quality. One is focusing on minimum tax impact, and one is focusing on a maximum quality, to keep a maximum quality. And these two circles interact with each other during the whole process of your building a supply chain and export to the European Union. And easily said, or let's say more simply said, it is finding an optimal balance between finance regulatory that will then shape your supply chain model. And later on, there will be more presentations on this subject, but The point made here is that finance and regulatory have a very, very strong voice in your supply chain modeling. And you have to take this into consideration once you come to Europe. So this brings me to the final slide. Without repeating myself, but what determines your export activities to Europe is regulatory and fiscal regulations, finance regulations. What do you need is a marketing authorization, a EU marketing authorization holder, an EU manufacturer to act as your importer. And you have to realize that the European Union is going to have changes. So build a resilient supply chain model, taking into account all the latest changes that might come in the coming months due to, of course, the COVID-19 impact on our global economy. And in order to stay aligned with the latest insights, we strongly recommend always to use a market expertise to prevent any roadblocks once you try and enter the European Union with your pharmaceutical product. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jans-Wasem. I believe your presentation is very useful for those companies who are or are planning to export pharmaceutical products to EU. Our next speaker is Ms. Gina Qing, Deputy General Manager of Beijing Sino SCM Limited Company. She will share emergency practice to support customer supply chain amid COVID-19 for medical logistics company. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Gina Qin. So, moment, please. I can't share my.
Jans, can you?
Yes, now she can.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Gina Qin from Beijing Sano's SCM company. My topic is about emergency practice to support customer supply chain for medical logistics company against COVID-19. There are two parts in my topic. I will share our emergency practice for medical cold chain logistics since COVID-19 outbreak. Obviously, the huge impact of the epidemic on the world transportation industry has posed great challenges for all logistics and supply chains. Flight canceled, railway stopped, highway blocked, and everyone is worried about the uncertainty, fall into anxiety. As we know, China looks like the whole Europe in terms of climate zone. The weather condition is diversified from north to the south, from east to the west. For temperature-sensitive product, delivery conditions are strictly subject to accessibility. Challenges of environmental temperature is complex. For example, the medicine we deliver to Wuhan range from 2 to 25 degrees. At that time, in Beijing, temperature is about below 0 degrees, and in Wuhan, it's about 0 to 5, while in Guangzhou, it's about 10 degrees centigrade. In my opinion, there are three key points to cope with the COVID-19 outbreak. One is strong sense of social responsibility. Second is strong professional quality operation control ability and the strong execution capacity. The third is long-term construction of self-owned transportation capability, and ability to integrate and allocate social resources cultivated in advance. As an established pharmaceutical supply chain company, our quality risk management is built in accordance with guidance of ICH. From supply chain management perspective, our QRM is composed of 4 parts: medicine features, goods floors, capital floor, and information floor. Temperature management play a critical role throughout the whole QRM system. Agility and responsiveness are 2 main aspects to fight against the COVID-19 outbreak and maintain the supply chain. Our quality risk management system is proved to work well in undertaking customer urgent order. All tasks follow 3 procedures: before, during, and after. First, we will assess customer requirements and obtain the knowledge of product stability and time limit. And then we will customize operation procedure like route validation, risk assessment, temperature control packing, choose proper facility. It will take 3 to 7 days to complete those solutions normally. However, in those special days, we shorten the procedure phase 1 within 24 hours. Okay, to keep the whole supply chain from disruption, we took key actions as below. On January 21st, we initiate contingency plan. On January 25th, top-level response to coronavirus activated in 30 Chinese provincial level region. Meanwhile, our first truck team was already on the highway to deliver customers' urgent order from nearby Guangzhou DC to Wuhan. On January 28th, we update the SOP during COVID-19 outbreak and ensure every employee is well trained. On January 13th, 80% staff returned to workplace from holiday to help with the help from government. On February 5th, we release weekly reports about national real-time traffic condition and share it with other farm and logistics companies. On February 8th, we launched regular truck to Wuhan every week to ensure the medicine supply in Hubei province. I'd like to share some detailed information with friends in Netherlands about fighting against virus with Wuhan. We have experienced many sleepless nights at the early stage. On January 24th, our customers such as Bayer, Roche, China, Mexico, Johnson & Johnson, etc., all began to take action, place urgent order for emergency medicine to main hospital in China. At this moment, Wuhan is a high-risk region. She was shut down completely. No commercial flight, no bus, no train. We even don't know how to get in and how to get out of totally shut down Wuhan. What we know is the patient and hospital needs this medicine to fight against the virus. We contact local officials how to deliver medicine into Wuhan. On January 25th, the first courageous driver who drive frozen truck into Wuhan only with limited PPE, face mask. In January 26, the first vehicle full of medicine is permitted to Wuhan with a special access certificate, just like this picture, issued on-site by Wuhan Police. The Wuhan policemen are very cooperative. They check the medicine and let the truck go. 2 hours later, our truck entered into Sinopharm Wuhan, who is the receiver. The warehouse is well organized and functioning well at that critical moment. Transfer of the medicine was done in order. Right after the delivery, our truck team left Wuhan city with special certificate all the way back to Guangzhou without stop. For emergency order, we also developed multi-modal dispatch solution for those donated medicine as contingency plan with our partner. For example, all commercial flight to Wuhan has been canceled. Donated medicine can only be delivered to hospital by vehicle. If there is a time critical order, we would upload the medicine to earliest flight from Beijing to Changsha Airport, which is the nearest airport to Wuhan. Our Changsha team carried the shipment to enter and exit Wuhan by truck. In phase 2, prevention measures and PPE are in place soon. PPE is updated with protective gown and disinfectant. We select the best driver to carry out Wuhan mission. They are proud of their duties because they can help those people in Wuhan fight against virus. Those drivers are confined to a designated office, designated hotel, and designated vehicles. They need to follow strict quarantine regulation and would be rewarded with a star for each trip. Their team is honored with a title Hero Team. They are assigned to carry out the task only to Wuhan route without going back home until now. At the moment, the workplace implemented strictly prevention measures, such as sanitize before login, temperature monitoring. This activity has become a routine. Okay, let me briefly introduce our company, Beijing Sino-SCM. We are a leading pharmaceutical and health supply chain management enterprise in China with more than 15 years history. We are the only logistics involved in the drafting of new GSP by CFDA. Our transportation networking covers whole China. We have our own vehicle, more than 285, including GSP compliant freezer truck, more than 149. Bayer, Sanofi, Lilly, Roche are our main customers. We welcome customers from Netherlands contact me. In the end, I would like to appreciate all medical workers at frontline and thanks the organizer for giving me this opportunity to share our practice. And thank you all for listening. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank Ms. Gina Ching for the vivid case study on medical cold chain logistics during COVID-19 outbreak. Our next speaker is Canon Chen, Jingdong General Manager of Europe. He will share Healthcare Logistics Solution by Jingdong Logistics. Welcome.
Sorry, I think I cannot share my screen.
Ms. Gina, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I think now it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Shelly, and it's a great honor to present here for the our healthcare logistics solutions, and it is very a pleasure to say that because we has already choose the Netherlands for the first stop of our expansion to Europe. We will build a B2B hub in Netherlands, probably in Venlo area, who has already signed a contract with the local government. Yeah, so it will be very pleasure to say that. And yeah, my presentation will be from three perspectives. One is our healthcare supply chain in China and our industry solutions as Internet Plus solution. And the last but not least is our JD Logistics double 48 hours global network. Let's first start with the integrated healthcare supply chain in China. So first of all, I'll give you some background why we are very focused on that part. Because one voice import policy has already issued by the government and allows the manufacturers to issue invoice to the hospital directly, and the medicine can be sent through third-party logistics. With the coming of invoice policy, it will be inventable for production enterprises to set up their front warehouse over China, and across region operation will become more and more important. As an intensive logistics company in China, we can help these companies to build up their network, warehousing network, and leverage our network as part of their business. So the key challenges for the pharmaceutical manufacturers are compliance, cost, and efficiency. So I will give you more solutions afterward. And the most important that with internet-based e-commerce business, that the internet plus pharmaceutical distribution will be more and more rising in China. So online pharmacy end-to-end fulfillment, delivery, and O2O on-demand delivery will become more and more important. Yeah, let's start from our network in China. Yeah, thanks for the booming of the e-commerce in China. So our retail business enable JD Logistics have the most comprehensive logistics network in China. Basically, we have 6 networks. The first is the normal size items like B2C and B2B, bulk items, cross borders, and crop sources like immediate delivery. And medical and cold chain is one of the network we are operating now. Because JD Logistics is open just 2 years, we start our fully open to society since the year of 2018. We operate about 16 million warehouses of logistics centers in China, and our order fulfilled same day or next day, about 91% to cover over 99 national populations in China. Basically, our pharmaceutical logistics product line are 4. One is warehousing, the second is transportation, and last mile, and value-added service. They can cover the whole supply chain, start from producers, distributors, retailers, and the contract research organizations and hospitals. And the key word is still compliance. For the medical warehousing, JD.com has already operated quite a large quantity of warehousing in China. But for the medical warehousing, it is part of our operation. But it's raised a little bit fast in the past recent years. Now we have about 10 medicine warehouse and another 10 for the medical devices warehouse. They're covering North China and South China, East China, and Middle China. And the total storage space is about 225,000 square meters. And also we cooperate with third-party warehouses and developing the warehouse as well. For the less than truckload, the first is the normal temperature under. It leverage all the network from JD.com together with our bulk cargos can be delivered from factory to merchants, merchant to hospital, and B2C directly. But for the cold chain, logistics is separate network. We use separate vehicles, which is all the vehicles has GSP compliance and the requirement, and so we can meet the requirement of multi-patch and a small quantity of our customer. We can both use air transportation and ground transportation to do the line haul and final delivery in our network. But we have our strong in-house packing R&D team, and that will make us enable to have a cooler box with tailor-made solutions for our customer as well. Transparency and visibility, the whole real-time online visibility of the whole process, the real-time tracking and the real-time temperature control are both done in our system. On the industrial solutions, as I mentioned, from recent years, the online pharmacy become more and more popular in the market. First of all, they need an end-to-end fulfillment solution, consolidated inventory and warehousing to simplify operation and the lower cost. That means that the stock taking both for online and offline channels, and both for B2B and B2C business. So we can keep one inventory in our warehouse, whatever the order come from the online channel or offline channel, that we can do the fulfillment and do the final delivery from our warehouse, both to the stores and to the final customer. Another one is like auto or on-demand delivery solutions. We have third-party merchants who can open shop either on JD.com or other platform. When they have orders, they can be delivered from store directly, or people can pick up from the order, which is the most closer to their home. So as we have our on-demand delivery carriers system, so we can choose the most appropriate courierman with Dada, the crowd south, or with JD.com's delivery team that make the intermediate delivery possible. So here's several partners that we are cooperate with. Yeah. So I won't go details. But the last not least is our JD Logistics double 48 hours global network. As the head of our European expansion plan, actually we has already choose Netherlands for our Europe hub. And also we will open 3 warehouses this year First is in Poland, and one is in Netherlands, and another is in UK. And we have a vision that double 48 hours coverage all over the world is kind of up to 48 hours to enter or leave in and out China, and up to 48 hours to fulfillment in select countries. That's basically 48 hours means. We built 8 hubs in China, which can linkage over 30 global supply chains, the gateway, and to multi-modal transportation network. The current regional focus are Southeast US in the last years, but this year definitely we will focus European market. So I hope in the future we can have more business in Netherlands and the whole Europe. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Very impressive. We can see that JD invests a lot in developing the logistics solution for healthcare industry and become one of the leading companies in China now. And appreciate your wise decision to make Netherlands as your EU hub. Next, I'd like to invite Mrs. Global Head Pharmaceutical Logistics at Air France KLM Martin Air Cargo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, wait 1 minute. I will share the presentation for you.
Okay, and I hope you can also see me. Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. First of all, allow me to thank you, the organization, for setting up this conference in this time where everybody is concentrating on keeping each other safe and concentrating on also shipping pharmaceutical goods around the globe. My name is Enrica Calonghi. I'm responsible for Pharmaceutical Logistics Division of Air France, KLM, and Martin Air Cargo. And in these 15 minutes, I would like to display with you the strength of Amsterdam Schiphol Airport and of KLM in the pharmaceutical supply chain. If you go to the next slide, Shelley. Yeah. I like this picture because for us at Air France KLM Cargo, patient is our final pharma client, especially in this difficult moment, and especially tomorrow when the vaccine for COVID-19 will be ready. There will be the need of continuing shipping pharmaceutical logistics, specifically via air freight, in a timely compliance manner, keeping the cold chain as the highest possible that we can deliver. So I would like to drive you throughout the why Amsterdam Schiphol Airport on the next slide. Well, Schiphol is a cargo main port in Europe, and its location is one of the main benefits of why choosing the Netherlands. Central location in the heart of Europe, easy access to main European countries. Amsterdam Schiphol Airport is the third in Europe in cargo volumes after Frankfurt and Paris, and it's transporting 1.7 million tons of cargo and 71 million passengers. The network from Amsterdam serves 323 destinations, direct flights from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, and with a mix of full freighters and passenger airplanes. Our group, Air France KLM Martin Air Cargo, is a big group transporting via its hub in Amsterdam and in Paris 1.2 million of tons of cargo worldwide, with its 172 long-haul aircraft, 6 full freighters, serving 157 countries. If you go to the next slide, it's also about its infrastructure. As we said, Amsterdam Airport Schiphol is one of the largest cargo airports in Europe, with an excellent cold chain control. And we all know how important it is to keep control in the cold chain, especially for vaccines. An infrastructure that is constantly improving to meet the growing need of temperature control pharmaceutical customers. KLM focuses on key markets like pharmaceutical, flowers, and the growing e-commerce to maintain and grow the cargo volumes. KLM is also leading in its digital processes, an automated factory, investing in new facilities and gateway development, new material and robotics. And of course, it's customer-centric with its 4,150 employees worldwide in those 157 countries. In the picture that you see here, you see a recently built up cool rooms for 1525 in the KLM warehouse, which is been inaugurated at the end of 2019. So we have within our group developed a cool chain program with tools and digital IT infrastructures. We monitor the occupancy of the cool rooms. The moment in which we see that the occupancy is high, we build an extension or a new one. In this way, we continue improving because, as I said, I mean, the cool chain is very important in the transportation of pharmaceutical goods. If you go to the next slide, that's the third reason, according to us, why Amsterdam Airport Schiphol is very important for China-Netherlands collaborations. Schiphol is a smart engine, and it's the point where there is a tremendous collaboration of different parties. First of all, let me remind you what has been discussed already with the previous participants and speakers, that Amsterdam Schiphol is a CAV certified, GDP certified, ISAGO, ISO, etc. What it means? It means that we are constantly checked and monitored on the performance of our processes and our structure. Our key cargo drivers are safety, speed, reliability, and connectivity. Amsterdam has a strong air cargo community. I mean, you see here in the slide that the association, as an example, Pharma Gateway Amsterdam. We work together on operational improvement process, a leading example in the air cargo pharmaceutical industry. We have collaborative approach via Pharma Gateway Amsterdam, but also within the community amongst all the parties, including the airport itself, the customs, the handlers, the country companies, airlines, of which KLM is one of these, EMA. EMA stands for European Medicine Agency, that, as you know, has been transferred from London to Amsterdam last year. Major customers have direct access to the airside, so that's very important also in terms of cool chain. Collaborations seems knowledge sharing, means working together to improve always the capabilities that we have, but also working on innovation. Our key drivers are transparency, care, and digitalization. We have a seamless connection, real-time temperature measurements. Amsterdam Schiphol Airport has a digital community system that is called Cargonaut. It is in place since 1986, which gives us a possibility to monitor and take corrective actions. As I said before, it's an important moment within our industry and for the whole population. If you go to the next slide, you see a picture. This picture is an example of the collaboration already in place between China and the Netherlands. You see the CEO of KLM, Peter Albers, and the Minister, Martin van Rijs, the Public Health and Welfare and Sport Minister, welcoming the first 747 combi with medical supplies from Shanghai to Schiphol. We have an almost daily flight to continue continuous flow of medical supply from China to the Netherlands. So far, and that was last week, 12 million masks, hundreds of thousands of gloves, safety goggles, insulation jackets, and hundreds of infusion pumps have been brought to the Netherlands. In this period, where the whole world has to deal with the impact of COVID-19, France KLM Martinair Cargo has responded actively in the patient needs by adjusting his network, utilizing all the available capacity to ship as many masks as possible, medicine equipment as possible, increasing the dialogue with the pharmaceutical customer to match the demand in this sector to the availability that we can use. And if you go to the next slide, you see that we are also utilizing the capacity that once was occupied by passengers to bring as much as medicines and material as possible to the Netherlands. I think that I made it with less than 15 minutes. Thank you. On behalf of Air France, KLM Martinair Cargo, and Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, thank you for listening to us.
Thank Ms. Enrica Cronje for introducing the strength of KLM and Amsterdam Schiphol Airport in the pharmaceutical supply chain by air. Our next speaker is Mr. Stephen Liu, Vice President of RealChem Group, to share pharmaceutical cold chain model and trends in China. Welcome. We can't hear you, Mr. Liu. Could you please check your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thanks
sorry for interrupting. We couldn't see your screen.
Oh, sorry again. Let me check. Yes,
now it's okay.
See? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the invitation for this meeting. I'm Stephen Liu from the RealChem Pharma Group. I'm in charge of the supply chain in RealChem, and I have been working in the pharmaceutical supply chain area for about 70 years, from Bayer, Healthcare, Novo Nordisk, and Sinopharma, Jointon Pharma, and now RealChem Pharma. So here I think I would like to introduce about the pharmaceutical collaboration during cross-border, especially for cold chain. As the picture show, we know based on the globalization and some just like the Belt and Road in China, the policy in China, we have lots of chains to have the communication, to have the collaboration with other outside people. I think more complex process need more collaboration. Cold chain is a good example, also is a really good area, especially for pharmaceutical cold chain. I would like to introduce the 4 parts. First is about the market analysis. We call the pharmaceutical goods market analysis. And the second one is about cold chain capability in European pharma. And the third one is about collaboration, how we can collaboration. The last one is about the case study. Okay. From the market analysis, we can see international trade for pharmaceutical market in China. I collect some data from the internet. I hope it's right. I hope it's right. We can see the volume of the import and export of healthcare products reached at 115 billion in 2008 US dollar. Okay, big volume. And the second part is the export of pharmaceutical preparations reached at 2.4 billion US dollar in 2018. And the volume of the import and export of pharmaceutical products reached at 23 billion across the Belt and Road in 2018. Yes. That's about the international trade for pharmaceutical market related to China. And how about the domestic market for the pharmaceutical product? We can see, maybe just see the volume. The market volume reached at 2,300 billion RMB in 2019. That's the whole Chinese pharmaceutical products market. And if we talk about the cold chain, biological products is about 300 billion, the sales volume. And the vacation is about 27 billion sales volume. And also blood products is about 29 billion RMB. Yes, that's for the international pharmaceutical market and also domestic market. But if we talk about the cold chain, we can say inner market about the pharmaceutical logistic cold chain is 15 billion. 15 billion is about 15 billion cold chain sales volume just for the logistic fee. For this number is maybe not very correct, but I think that's related to the volume of the pharmaceutical products market. Yeah, that's different calculated way to cost the number. But anyway, I think that's a very big market share in China. And when we talk about the cold chain market chains for international trade with China, maybe these 4 parts we can have a look. First one is e-commerce, cross-border e-commerce. The reached USD 1,250 billion in 2019. Yes. And for clinical trial reached at 580 million. Yeah. And for the import and export of pharmaceutical products reached at 115 billion in 2018. And also we have the very big volume is about food import and export. So when we have a quick look about the pharmaceutical market and the pharmaceutical cold chain market, so we can have a introduce about who we are. European Company Group is the 7th pharmaceutical distributors in China. in China. And we also are the medical device, second largest medical device companies in China. So we allocated all our branch companies in our province in China. And also we can see we have the warehouse, coal trucks, we have the teams allocated in the all the province in this branch in this branch companies. So that means we have all prepared results, cold chain results, in whole China. Then based on this results, we prepared our cold chain products. But as we all know, the pharmaceutical cold chain products, we must need to know more about the compliance policies. Yes, that's sorry. I don't know, transfer all the policies into the English. Just we can have a look. In recent years, all the government, Chinese governments, very focused on the compliance policies about the cold chain in China. So all the policies must be implemented in our whole supply chain, in our whole supply chain process. So how we can implement this, transfer these policies into our daily process. So we have the comprehensive cold chain management system. We call the CCCM. That's a tool. That's a management tool to transfer all the policies, regulations into the daily process. In this tool, we can see the basic part is about the quality. It's about the quality issues, just like audit, validation, training, deviation, risk control. All these are related to the cold chain process, cold chain management. Based on these quality issues, and we also need to take care of the hardware and the software. For example, installation box, cold truck, cold warehouse, monitoring system, information technology system. For this, we need to make a management circle to set up the standard operation procedure. All this SOP must be trained to the related staff. For example, drivers, operators, warehouse keepers, and quality managers, site managers, just like this. For this implementation must to every project, every cold chain project. Then we can take more care for the policies and the regulations, then implemented them into our daily operation. That's the tool we normally use. From this slide, we can see that's the implementation process for CCCM. When we have a cold chain project, we must have an organization to training all related staffs. And we have the uniform, we have the prepared documentation collector, validated installation box, and the IT system, for example, to standardize all the process. Then our quality system will be implemented from the step by step. When the project go ahead and running, we need to keep continuous improvements for each project. That's the whole how we can implement the process for CCCM. Based on these principles, we can prepare all the solutions For example, cold truck logistics solutions is based on the cold truck resource allocated all the different provinces in China. We can have the inner province distribution by our cold truck. Also, we can provide the in vitro diagnostics solution for special industry. And also we have the food truck delivery and the installation box delivery. That's some pictures. And all the delivered, each delivery order, we must show the pictures, show the temperature records every 5 minutes, temperature records to the receiver. That's the GSP regulation. GSP standards for the good sales practice. Also, we have the installation box delivery for some quick delivery and the quick pack and direct deliver to the to our customers. And we also have the warehousing service. All these services, except for the 7 region RDCs in China, all these RDCs are the pharmaceutical warehouse. Is qualified and have the third-party logistic certificates. That's a special certificate for the pharmaceutical products in China. And we also have some smaller, we call the front distribution centers, FDC, in each province, in some main cities, Yeah. And that shows in Shandong province, we have different warehouses to provide total warehouse service solutions to our customer. And some real pictures. As we all know, in China, the pharmaceutical warehouse must, if they have the third-party logistic qualifications, they must have the auto-racks warehouse. And this is for some code warehouse picture. And if I have time, maybe, sorry. Sorry, can you see my screen? Excuse me?
No, I think you have to share the right screen.
Okay. Can you see the screen now?
No, what I see is the presentation, the PPT.
Okay. Just forget it. I would like to share a video, but I think it cannot work. So can you see the PPT now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Okay, the third part is about the collaboration model from Ryukin Pharma Company. We think we can provide lots of collaboration models. For example, end-to-end cold chain delivery. whatever e-commerce, clinical trials, pharmaceutical goods, import, export, all inner GSP warehousing service. I think we can have more cooperation chains. And we also can maybe together with our partner, share cold chain information technology data and the temperature transferring data, equipment validation data, for example. And we also can integrate the management criteria of the cold chain equipment. If we have one equipment from China to Euro or maybe from Euro to China, if we have the same criteria, management criteria, validation criteria, then that's very easy to handle the products. It's a quicking handle to process the cold chain orders. Also, I think we are very welcome the people training and the communications from our past. And the last one is about the case study. It's a real case. Currently, European company, we handled one project. This project is from the European country to deliver the cold chain medical device in China, and our partners exporters packed with the installation box, and we together to verify transferring time and preparing SOP. When the medical device come to China, we make the custom clearance, and we make the inner distribution and the transportation. Then we share all the cold chain data with our partners. I think that's also a good case for the for the partners. We can have more chance to collaboration in such a project. Okay. Many thanks for this invitation, and very welcome to come to a real company, maybe to have more chance to collaboration or other communication or training share. Thanks again. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for your introduction of a management system and different services and solutions on different scenarios. Could you stop sharing your screen?
Okay.
Thank you. Please click stop instead of pause. Okay. And upon the request of some participants, we will give 1 more minute for you to scan the QR code of our WeChat group. Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Williams, Business Director of Movianto. His topic is European Pharma Supply Chain Strategies. Welcome.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your geographical location. It's Eric. Can everyone see my screen now? Is that okay? Just double checking.
Yes.
Perfect. So as mentioned, my name is Eric Willems, and I'm looking forward to share some thoughts and ideas with you on European supply chain models specific to the pharma industry this morning. So let's assume you have developed a fantastic new drug or medicine coming out of China, but how do you now physically get this medicine or drug to the patient in Europe? How do you as a manufacturer connect to the so-called point of care in Europe? That is basically what I would like to share with you today in this presentation. Let me start with a brief introduction about myself and the company I'm with, Movianto. So as mentioned, my name is Eric. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands, and my education is in supply chain management, both on the materials planning as well as on the physical distribution side. And during my working life, I have had the privilege to support many international companies across different industries on their European supply chain strategy. And one of my key takeaways that I've learned over the last 20 years is that supply chain is a true business enabler. It's a bit like magic. Supply chain make things really happen. The flip side of that coin is that supply chain is also never in the driver's seat, but it's heavily depending on the financial or fiscal structures as well as regulatory structures. Hence my clear personal interest in these interesting topics. As mentioned, I'm with Movianto, and we are a pan-European based 3PL 100% dedicated to healthcare. All our 25 sites across Europe are fully dedicated to pharma and medical device products and completely temperature controlled and are under a single European quality management system. Together with my 2,500 colleagues, we truly connect you as a manufacturer to the point of care. And we provide services like warehousing, final mile distribution, value-added services, kitting, labeling, as well as order to cash, meaning that we take orders directly from your customers across the market and we invoice them on your behalf. So let's go back to why we are here on this webinar today. It all, like I said, it all starts with a dream, a vision, to develop a human medicine in order to improve quality of life. It might be an orphan drug that you develop to treat rare diseases. It might be an over-the-counter product aimed at pain relief, whatever. Patients will benefit from your product. And given its demographics, as well as an interesting reimbursement scheme, Europe is often seen as a very interesting market. It's your dream, it's your product. But once the market access has been granted by the relevant bodies like EMA, the European Medicines Agency, you start manufacturing the product. And rather sooner than later, you will find yourself right in the middle of the following questions. You're experiencing customs delays. Customers will actually ask you, where is my package? You have a difficult return process. You have a very long order to cash cycle, so you don't collect the cash from the market, impacting your financials. You're as a non-EU manufacturer, you're perceived as difficult to deal with. And what we've also seen earlier today, you're actually having duties and VAT payments that you need to do in all the countries, and that's creating a headache. So in order to find answers to overcome these questions, we need to take a step back and return to the basics of supply chain. And in my mind, this actually is supply chain. Supply chain is the magic to make sure that the right product with the right quantity at the right time is at the right place against the most efficient cost. So far, so good. However, in the pharmaceutical industry in Europe, we have to add some additional basic rules. As part of the GDP guidelines, securing the temperature throughout the entire chain, from a manufacturer point of view to a patient point of view, needs to be controlled and is a manufacturer's responsibility to do so. And in case a patient is impacted by taking drugs that you manufacture, and it turns out that after thorough investigation that the products have been exposed to extreme heat, for example, while waiting on the tarmac to be loaded onto an aircraft, you might find yourself in a serious business problem with massive consequences. So having said that, how can supply chain bring a positive impact to that? And what we need to bear in mind is that the fact that companies embrace a supply chain strategy is that supply chain can impact primarily in three key areas. First of all, It increases your sales. It allows you to trade with Europe and generate revenue. Second, supply chain, it allows you to control your profit margins. The more efficient your supply chain is, the more margin you will earn. And last but certainly not least, it drives your customer experience. If your customer enjoys your service as a pharmaceutical manufacturer, they will reorder and reorder and reorder. So summarized, even though it looks like that logistics is costing you money, that's true, that's absolutely true, it actually can help you to differentiate in this dynamic and interesting market. It brings tangible assets to you and your company. And in fact, it is a trend in the market that manufacturers see supply chain as a true value add. And more companies have a supply chain leader in the board of directors. How does that work? Well, let's find out on the next slide. So let's take a very pragmatic approach here and use a business case example. You manufacture products in your factory in China. That's what you see on the right-hand side. And you ship those products via rail, via ocean, via air to Europe. And as soon as those products approach Europe, there are several things that become a big question mark. So where do you have to ship the products to? Do you go straight into the main markets like Germany or Italy, or do you store it elsewhere? Who is actually authorized to import those products? Who is the market authorization holder? That also goes back to the previous presentations we have seen today. Do you ship everything into one DC distribution center, or do you have multiple locations throughout Europe to store your products? How do you actually ensure temperature monitoring? Do you use a temperature controlled truck, or do you use a validated shipper box for parcel shipments? Do you then deliver to hospitals, pharmacies, or do you partner with distributors or wholesalers? And from a supply chain perspective, that means, do you deal with parcels or do you deal with pallets? And who actually labels all the products to be compliant with local country legislation in Europe? As to what Jens Vaassen mentioned earlier, we have within the EU guidelines, but also sometimes local interpretation about these guidelines. And in order to start properly designing your supply chain strategy that really supports your customer needs, there are several key steps to be taken. First of all, you need to really understand the European market. That means that you need to find out how does reimbursement work in the various different markets. All of that is localized. Who eventually pays for your product? Is it the insurance company? Is it the government? Is it the private individual? And can the people or the market actually afford your product? The next is make sure that you, for 100%, have the correct regulatory structure in place. Without that regulatory structure, nothing flies, nothing will happen, and you will not be able to reach the patient, simply because you will be prevented from trading with Europe. So this is truly the backbone of everything you would like to accomplish. And once that is done, you can actually go to the next slide and to the next step and state, well, set a clear business strategy, define the sales and marketing plan. Will you partner with distributors? Will you license the rights of the product out to a local exclusive partner in Europe? Or will you go with a direct sales force in key markets to better control your own destiny? And then fourth, design a flexible and efficient operational structure. Once step 1 to 3 are fully known and understood, only then you can actually define your supply chain. And again, the supply chain in this case is the fact that it is a business enabler who will increase your sales, who controls your profit margin and drive your customer experience. That is what supply chain can do. So summarized, this is what we call or what I call the kind of the golden triangle. Regulatory needs to be in place, a financial structure needs to be in place, and your sales and marketing needs to be in place. And once those three are known, you can actually start defining your supply chain strategy, which is in the middle here. The next discussion point is in order to actually then define, okay, how do I need to design this supply chain model in Europe? One key thing to really understand as a first step is the differences within healthcare. Here you see a chart where on the left-hand side you see the value from low value to high value, and on the horizontal arrow you actually see the volumes from low volume to high volume. And there is an interesting split. If you look at the high value products, which can be differentiated in biotech and specialty pharma on one hand, but also high-end medical devices, so implantables, in vitro diagnostics products, etc. Typically in Europe, these type of companies with high value, low volume, follow a central supply chain model. What that means, I will explain in the next chart. The opposite is that in Europe, for the medical disposables, typically a single-use medical device, but also generic pharma with a very high volume, with typically lower value, they actually follow a decentralized supply chain model. So it is critical to understand where you as a manufacturer actually are. Are you on the decentralized models or are you on the centralized models? Moving on to the next slide, then let's see, what does a central supply chain mean? And hopefully you can see the chart of Europe actually well, because it is not that clear here on my screen, but hopefully it works out on your end. So what does it mean? So if you look at the overall business case, then typically inventory carrying costs as well as transportation costs are two main factors. And at the moment that you are manufacturing an expensive, high-value drug, it is very likely that you will benefit from putting all products in just 1, 2, or maybe 3 locations. At least you will consolidate your inventory as much as possible. This limits the amount of inventory you need, and country-specific customization will be done at these distribution centers. So typically, transport costs from those DCs to your customer will be a bit higher because you have an international shipment. You need to cover all of Europe from this central DC. But again, like I said, the inventory cost will be limited because you can consolidate all your inventory, meaning that the total cost of your entire business case is the most efficient. The other option is that you deal with a fairly low value product, but you ship massive pallets or containers to different countries. That's the medical disposable and the generic pharma side. And in that case, because of the fact that you ship massive pallets and a lot of containers, likely transportation cost will weigh in more heavily and could be a substantial portion of the total cost. And since this typically includes more generic product, it is also likely that it will be easy for you to replicate inventory across the region. Be close to your customer, keep transportation costs down, but accept higher inventory costs. That works for this type of product, and that's also what we typically see in the European market. And here on this slide, you actually see both options next to each other. Like I said, the left-hand side typically done for biotech, the right-hand side typically done for the generic pharma. With this information in mind, we can now actually move to the next key element in your supply chain strategy, and that's your go-to-market plan. It looks a little bit busy, but let me carefully walk you through. You have several options to sell your products to the market. And let me highlight a couple of those. The first option is that you, as a Chinese manufacturer, you actually appoint a distributor or a wholesaler in each of the countries. So you have one partner in Germany, one in Italy, one in Spain, one in the UK, and so on. You, as a manufacturer, you will actually sell products to those distributors, and the distributor is usually keeping inventory in their warehouse in their respective countries. and the distributor actually sells to the final customer. So they're like in between you and your final patient, your customer. However, the distributor, they have an existing network in their respective territory, and they actually take care of all local regulatory and compliance in the country. So that's for you quite easy to actually do. What this model means is that from its supply chain impact, you see that on the right-hand side. Typically, that translates into the fact that you ship big pallets or big pooled trailers, actually from your central DC or from your local DC to the distributor. And that means that you basically replenish their inventory. So there's no need for speed. And typically in Europe, that is done by temperature controlled vehicles, like we as Movianto actually offer as well. So through that temperature controlled vehicle, you actually guarantee the temperature controlled element because of GDP door to door. The other option of the sales model is that you have a direct sales model, meaning that you as a Chinese manufacturer sell directly to hospitals and pharmacies across all of Europe or across key markets. But it also means that you as a manufacturer are actually responsible for local regulatory and compliance, whereas in the previous option, the distributor will take care of that. And that what we typically see is that as soon as you go to a direct sales model, that you actually outsource the entire logistics portfolio, including order-to-cash solutions, meaning that a third party will help you taking orders, do the pick, pack, ship, and also do the accounts invoicing, accounts receivable, etc. So what does this model mean as a supply chain impact? That means that from your DC, typically you don't replenish a distributor, but you ship a small parcel into hospitals or into pharmacies, meaning that you don't have a pallet to ship, but you have a parcel to ship. And the parcel needs to be temperature controlled. And there you have a validated shipper box, which can be rather expensive, that goes around the parcel. And that shipper box maintains the temperature for a certain moment of time. The alternative there is that you make use of an active temperature controlled parcel distribution network across Europe. But what we typically see today is that these parcel shipments are active on a local basis, but not necessarily on a pan-European scale yet. And there is an absolute need for speed. As soon as a hospital orders a product today at 5 o'clock, they would like to have it tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, everywhere in the key markets in the European market. The third model I would like to share here is a hybrid. It's a hybrid model whereby in the top 5 EU countries from a sales destination, which typically is Germany, the UK, Italy, France, and the Benelux countries, you have a direct sales model. And in all the other countries, you go via distributors. And that means that from a supply chain perspective, you need to have all of the above. So you need to be able to ship pallets, temperature controlled. You need to be able to ship parcels, temperature controlled, and combine all flows into one overall solution. Now we know the most important high-level factors that can impact the supply chain model. We focused on central versus decentral, and we've also seen here what the different sales strategies, how that can impact your supply chain. And where you consequently put those distribution centers, well, you already heard today that the Netherlands has a great logistics infrastructure to support you on that one. So in summary, let's take a look at a real life business case, which we operate for one of our clients. This client is in a high value specialty pharma and has a hybrid of a direct to hospital as well as a wholesale or distributor market in the southern and eastern European countries. And therefore, this client operates a single DC strategy. So what we see on the top left here is they manufacture the products in various different geographies in the West as well as in the East. They ship via ocean, via reefer containers, as well as via air freight, via, for example, KLM with the pharma network, all temperature controlled into one of our DCs in Europe. What we then do is we go through customs. We prepare the pharmaceutical products with local labeling. We can do repackaging. We pick small units for the direct to hospital markets, and we pick full pallets. And all of this we do in a temperature controlled environment. Also, from a quality perspective, products need to be released into the European market. That's done through a qualified person, and all of that is with different temp ranges. So as you can see, the level of complexity is building up and is becoming more and more complex. Well, as soon as we have the products available in our facility, we then receive orders from their customers. And like I said, that can be hospitals, that can be pharmacies across the top EU5 markets. We take the orders, we do the pick, pack, and ship, where we use integrators to ship parcels straight into the hospitals. But we also ship pallets using temperature-controlled road freight as well as air freight into distributors in the eastern part of Europe as well as in the southern part of Europe. And remember, all of that needs to be temperature controlled, where the preconditioning and the packaging of the pharmaceutical products is key to all of this. And last but certainly not least, we also use the local heroes who have actually temperature controlled networks, avoiding therefore the expensive packaging, but you actually use a small van to deliver a parcel across France or across Italy to the patient. And all of that needs to be managed, of course, and be compliant with GDP guidelines. So hopefully this gives you a flavor of what we do and what the level of complexity can be, particularly if you take into consideration the multiple different temperature ranges that can exist within one product portfolio. So to conclude and to summarize a little bit, hopefully I've been able to demonstrate you that go-to-market strategy, together with the finance structure and the regulatory structure, they define everything that logistics needs to enable. So logistics is magic. We connect you to the point of care in Europe, but we are never in the driving seat. Direct supply chains are trending, meaning that we see that more and more manufacturers go direct to the hospitals and to the patients and bypassing distributors. But that has a heavy impact on your supply chain strategy and also on your regulatory setup. However, it is considered a strategic differentiator between you and your own competitors. The pharmaceutical supply chain will remain in flux in the coming years. We see trends of consolidating inventories more and more. We see trends where we go more and more direct to patient, where we have business to consumer deliveries, where we have home deliveries, and so on. And that actually leads directly into number 4, what we have here, where we see where more and more manufacturers have a different final mile strategy, meaning that people actually recover more and more at home, not necessarily in a hospital. So for you to reach the patient, you actually have to go into their homes rather than a hospital or a pharmacy. But bear in mind, the temperature control GDP guidelines is still with you as a manufacturer. So how do you ensure that when you actually deliver to a patient in their own houses is a complete new hobby that you open up. And then last but not least, the active temperature controlled networks is something that we see as a trend as well, to scale up from domestic networks only to a true pan-European active temperature controlled network that allows you to ship something from one country to the other actively temperature controlled. That will be a massive game changer for the future as well. So with that, many thanks for your time today, and hopefully I've been able to share some thoughts and best practice on European supply chain. And as Movianto, we are here to support you, to connect you to your customers across the European market and beyond. Thanks for listening in, much appreciated, and looking forward to work with you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Williams. The presentation is very informative and useful. If any participants have questions about your pharmaceutical supply chain, please do not hesitate to contact Mr. Williams after the event. And our participants, you are welcome to ask questions to our speakers in the chat window. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Zhi Xiaohua, President of Ruhrtech, to share Chinese practice of cold chain solution from pharmaceutical industry to end user. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Shirley. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to share our practice in China for our cold chain solutions. Okay, again, my name is Jimmy. So I got my PhD degree in China and German Fraunhofer Society. So I'm the founder of Ruhrtech. So Ruhrtech is a material science technology company. So we focus on the anti-storage materials, and of course, it can be used for the pharma industry. So we dedicate to provide high quality and cost-effective cold chain solutions to worldwide customers. And the Ruhrtech is a member of the German PCN Quality Society, and is the only one fighting in China. So now we can provide the whole chip code package in pharmaceutical industry, and as well as the rental service. So in China, we build a code package recycle system, which is named Cloud Box. So we try to substitute the single-use APX package. So what's the challenge of cold chain in China? So as we know, China is a big country, and even in the season, there's huge climate difference from north of China to south of China. For example, in winter, in north of China, Harbin the temperature will be minus 30 Celsius degrees, but in south of China, for example, in Guangzhou, the temperature will be 30 Celsius degrees. So it's very complicated. The second, China is a country, so that means there always a long distance transportations. So if we deliver the medicine to the metropolis, it's fine, maybe 24 or 48 hours. But if we try to deliver into the town or village, normally 72 hours or more is required. So it's also a challenge to the cold chain. Sorry. So in my mind, even in the last mile, is also a potential danger. Think about it. If our client, they take the medicine from hospital or pharmacy and take away home. So if the bioactive medicine is without any protection, so that means it sometimes, for example, in very hot summer or very cold winter. So if the medicine is loss of temperature control, so the client may have an idea that why does the medicine doesn't work this time or not so good as before? They have no idea it's the temperature control. They lost the temperature control. So what we suggest is that we need to monitor the whole chip temperature during the cold chain solution. So what we do in the whole chip cold chain in the practice, so we, as I had talked, we built a cold package recycle system in China. That means the customer just deliver the cold package, and the locator is responsible for bringing it back all over China. So that means, for example, for one single-use EPS container, so if you need more and more quality and more surface, for example, the digital surface, temperature monitor, so normally you have to pay more money for the high quality. But by rental service, you just pay maybe a little money or the same money, but you can get better and better service. So we build the system in different steps, for example, from the factory to the wholesale, or even the logistics, and even in the end user for the retail. So we provide the rental service about the cold package. So we hope to help the clients, help the factory or the logistics to save money. So by monitoring the system, we have an online system named CloudBox can monitor. And the system can monitor all the assets at real time, and the artificial intelligence can help make better decisions. So offline, we have a warehouse. We have a central warehouse. We have a series of quality systems to inspect the cold packages and to make sure it's safe enough for the next use. So it's our experience for the cold chain solution in China. So this is our partner in our rental service. They are from factories, from wholesale, as well as logistics. So this is a picture about the CloudBox system. So now about online assets. Now we have rental cold packages more than 11,000, and rental ice packages more than 300,000. And about rental data log, we have more than 6,000, and we have annual accumulation more than 200 million data in our platform. Now, Luatech has the capability to provide the temperature control solution, range from -50 to 100 Celsius degrees, according to any temperature of your want. So we provide the cold package from small size like 4 liters for the end user, as well as 1,000 liters such as cold pallet for the industry or the logistics. And or even we can build a more size, for example, 3,000 liters is fine. So in addition, every component of the cold package, even like the ice pack and as the data logger and the package, every component we have assembled with smart chips. So they can provide a smart service like temperature monitor, asset management, and operation optimizations. Everything is possible with the smart chip. So this is a temperature tracking system. So the temperature can be real-time tracked by website display or by app. So it's very easy for the operator as well as for the manager to monitor the temperature. And they have many functions like alarm system and the print and storage for 5 years or more years. So yeah, so it's a real time. So as I talked, the cold package need to face the man-made chain challenge in China. So the cold package has take very strict tests like OQ test, PQ test in very hot summer or very hot winter, or even very delivered from a very cold area to hot area, and suddenly. And in advance is from the hot area to cold area. And so the package should be safe in any situations in China. So Luatech is a material science company, so we always have believed that materials technology can promote the innovation for cold chain solutions. So now, for example, we have a product called cold cover. So it's produced not by liquid materials, but by solid materials. So it's very lightweighted, and it can be foldable, and it can control the temperature very, very stable. So it's very suitable, especially for biopharmacy and vaccine and so on. So other materials, we also like PCS. It's called liquid PCM. So it's very interesting materials. For example, I have a normal truck, just a normal truck, but I want to take cold chain business. So normally you have to buy a refrigerated truck to take a business, right? So, but normally it costs too much, costs a lot of money. So I want to buy a refrigerated truck. So the PCS can maybe a solution. So how does that happen? So for example, I just have to pay a little money to upgrade my truck into the normal truck into a insulated truck. Just an insulated truck. Then the PCS can be pumped into a truck to take a business. It's a little bit like a gas station for our car. We pump the gas, right? But for the truck, just pump materials. So the truck can provide a great temperature control, and you just go for business. So you just pay for a little money. So think about China. In China, there are thousands and thousands of normal truck, but for refrigerated truck, just a small part. So we think in this way we can promote a normal truck to take cold chain business. That's the materials functions. So it's our interest. This is just one example of our materials. So about cooperation between Netherlands and China. So the first question for me is that about rental model. Because Rotec has some experience both online and offline operation in China, the IT system and the warehouse management, we have experience. But is that possible that between Netherlands and China we build a rental model? Because the reverse goods is always a challenge and costs a lot if we try to build a rental model. So if we both sides build some standard code container, then we rent both sides. We think it's a very interesting service between China and Netherlands. So the second one is about product innovation. So we think in the cold chain, always we have to face challenge. So there will be many requirements from the marketing. So we need response to the marketing requirements. So Rotec has the material science and the technology to build more and more product to meet the market. So is that possible? We build a collaboration both sides for research and development for cold chain service to for both sides, including airline or maybe the Belt and Road Railway. I think maybe it happens sometimes. So this is my idea about the cooperation between Netherlands and China. Okay, so this is a short presentation about Rotec and what we think about the practice between Netherlands and China. So thanks a lot for your listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Zhi, for introducing us about the cold chain packaging technology and smart products developed by Rotec, and also your suggestion on the cooperation between Netherlands and China. Our next speaker is Mr. Oscar Vermeer, Managing Director of New Silkway Logistics, Netherlands. His topic is about pharma cold chain railway solution. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. It was also very interesting to see the previous presentation regarding the pharmaceutical supply chain. I will explain in the coming 15 minutes more about our intermodal green cold chain setup between Europe and China, mainly for pharmaceutical products. Short introduction about myself. I'm Oscar van Meij, Managing Director from the company New Silkway Logistics. This company is a joint venture set up between two large logistics companies in Europe, named Esser and KLG Europe. As you might have heard in the news, that Sinotrans, the largest logistics company in China, has taken over KLG Europe last year. So they are very involved in the setup as well. Basically, this company started a couple of years ago by shared customers that actually promoted the two companies, Essos and KLG, to start collaboration with each other and to start shipping via rail to China, and again, mainly with pharmaceutical products. These two companies shared their assets, their knowledge, and therefore they started the New Silkway Logistics, only focusing on this type of transportation. The big advantage of this collaboration is that both companies have their own assets in Europe, own warehouses, own systems, many trucks and trailers and containers. And in China, we have dedicated partners, and also, of course, with the company of Sinotrans, we have a very broad network to distribute our goods in China. If you look at the role in this setup, where KLG, Essers, and Sinotrans are the three companies that have direct customers communication, and we mainly operate for direct customers due to the fact that there is a high market demand at the moment for reefer temperature controlled shipments. And this is also our specialism. So therefore, we don't act as a forwarder, but we work directly as a carrier with shippers to have more control about our movements on the train. The role of New Silkway Logistics is actually the operational back office. So we support customs, updates, we install containers, we fuel, we have direct communication regarding updates to our partners, we book trucks, trailers, etc. And we are basically the link between the European part and the Chinese shareholder. And therefore, yeah, we have full control and communication about this long distance setup. What we do, we move containers from Europe to China and back. Again, we are specialists in the green cold chain. It means that we are market leader in temperature controlled shipments from Europe to China and back. We have invested in our own 45-foot reefer fleet. We have at the moment 175 containers that are all pallet wide and high cube, with a special engine that can also run into the extreme cold areas in the wintertime. So we have the solution in place that we can move temperature controlled cargo, meaning pharmaceutical, food, embargo products momentarily, but also electronics to China, also during the wintertime, means year round. We have direct connection with our containers via satellite. And we have a 24/7 control tower. They are based in Romania, that are following up these containers 24/7. Also in the weekends, we can share information to our partners and to our customers. In addition, we focus on the middle route, meaning that we're passing through Russia and Kazakhstan. We have found out in the past years that this is the fastest solution. So we are around 14, 15 days with the train. And if you look at the door-to-door transit, we offer to our customers, depending on the location, but it's about 20 to 24 days door-to-door. This is absolutely an advantage compared to ocean freight. And in terms of financial perspective, it's also interesting compared to air freight solutions. We see that many customers are now testing this lane and are now also moving their supply chain more to the rail to spread out their modalities and logistics solutions. As I mentioned earlier, we have invested in our own reefer fleet with a partner, Unit 45. The reefers that we have used in the past were not GDP and GMP certified. And that is why we have designed a new container. The 45-foot reefer was already existing, but we have a new engine and we have changed some technical aspects to it so that we are able also that the diesel in the reefer unit, which is an 800-liter diesel tank, will not freeze during extreme temperatures in Kazakhstan in the wintertime. It can go up to minus 40 degrees. We have tested this new design 3 years ago, and this passed the test, and therefore we have invested in more containers. And momentarily, we are also working on even a newer container with a 1,000-liter diesel tank and even other specs to load. 33 Euro pallets or 26 block pallets can fit in this container. So that's the same size as the trailer size in Europe. So we can load more than a 40-foot container. So these are the technical specs. What we are currently also looking into the new opportunities on the rail, on the Silk Road. Many companies are more and more involved. The transits are improving. So what we're currently working on is make special designs for the customers for monitoring and KPI reporting tools. We are constantly looking at new route implementations. This has mainly also to do with the fact that we cannot custom clear all the products in one city. So we spread out our offices in China. We mainly go to Chongqing, Hefei, Xi'an, and Chengdu. So these are the four main areas where we enter China. And related to these four, we will custom clear the goods, fruits, vegetables, but also pharmaceutical, electronics in different cities. In addition, we have a secured container. We call this a secured transportation setup. Also a 45-foot container with locking bars from distance. So our control tower, 24/7 control tower, can lock and unlock the container from distance. Also for high-value goods, this is a very interesting option to use for customers on the new Silk Road to secure their products even better. To give in practice, to show you an example of what we have built for one of our customers, is a reporting tool, real life. So the customers can track and trace their own containers, measure the KPIs, are we on time, what are the destinations when you arrive. Many of our customers have different shipper locations in China and different unloading locations in Europe. And in this way, they can track and trace their own containers, and we can build this for any customer that's booking through to this platform. If you look at the reefer setup, then every balloon, when you see the picture on the map, every balloon is a 15-minute update. So we are able to track and trace the containers. We check temperatures inside, fuel levels, door open and close signals, GPS locations, waiting time, and we're also able to communicate with the reefer. We are able to adjust the temperatures from distance, and this is called two-way command. We are able to change the mode from cycles entry, which is start-stop, or to continuous mode. So we are able to adjust also fuel levels from distance. On the way to China, we have, of course, arranged with our good partner Chongqing a whole intervention set up where we can, in case something goes wrong with the container, we are able to go to the container within 24 hours to repair or to reset the container to solve that issue. We have that at every border station, and in Europe at several locations, and in China also we have a main hub in Chongqing, Xi'an, and Shanghai where we can repair our containers. Every container gets always after every round trip an inspection, because we really want to share our details, maintenance reports to the customers when they start booking with us, that we can prove that the containers are in good and new condition. To come back to the market segments that we are very active in, mainly pharmaceuticals to China, chemicals, medical devices, high-tech, machinery and parts, mainly in dry boxes, automotive, finished cars also in dry boxes, of course not in our reefers. We are active in the fashion industry and embargo products. We have done already 2 tests in the past 2 weeks, so they went very smoothly, and we are now increasing the volumes with salmon, perishable, fruits. So we are now starting on that market as well. Many of you might ask later in the chat, okay, how is liability covered in this place? That should be a good question. We had it more often. We have designed this multimodal railway bill, which is basically a document that we have designed with our insurer and with our partner and back-to-back covered, that we are acting as a carrier on this whole door-to-door setup. So if a customer books with us, we create this document, we fill all the details, and we share this with the customer. In any case there is a claim or something goes wrong, leakage in the container or anything that you could imagine, then the customer can come to us, claim us, and we have back-to-back covered this with our insurer via our multimodal railway bill. According to the standards in Europe for truck CMR, for the train CIM, and the SMGS document, they're basically the same but for different countries. And the CMR document in China. So the minimum coverage of the whole train transit is the 8.33 SDR per kilo. So yeah, that is the guarantee and the liability that we take on our equipment. So we don't act as a freight forwarder, we really act as a carrier in this case. And last but not least, to summarize the setup that we are focusing on, we see that many companies are active on this new Silk Road, and many companies have a real good view about how they see it and how they want to do it. We are active and we are the market leader in temperature controlled, as I mentioned. And this is also our main business. 45 foot size containers, reefers. We are moving with embargo products at the moment. We can build the KPI tools for the customers, own control tower and the higher liability. These are the assets and the strengths of our company. But yeah, we are open to discuss any opportunity with you if you have a question related to that. We're moving about 20 to 30 reefers per week per train to China, and we load them also back due to this collaboration with a lot of electronics. This way we have a stable round trip with our equipment, and therefore we're also able to maintain them well in Europe. So if there are any questions, please let us know, and we can help you. I would like to thank you for your attention. If you have an email, please give us an email on info@newsilkwaylogistics.com if you have any questions, and we are willing to answer that and support you to get on rail to China and make it more lean and green. Also, of course, for the environmental global issue. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Oscar Vermeij. Your presentation helped us understand about a reliable cold chain railway solution for pharma products and other products as well. Now we have the last speaker of this conference, Mr. William Lee, Head of European Branch, Quicktrong. He will share application of logistic robot in pharmaceutical industry. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. Thanks a lot. And I hope you guys can hear me and also see my PowerPoint here. Quicktrong is a company. Today we are talking about the application about the logistic robotics in this area. First page about myself. My name is William Lee, and I'm a sales manager for the overseas market for Quicktrong. And I used to live in Holland for 10 years and work in this area more than 5 years. And okay, here's the context for today. First, we're talking about the company's history and also the Quicktrong's robotics product line. Then we can show a little bit about the market driver at this moment. And then I will show you some couple of reference projects. So Quicktrong is a very young company. We began 5 years ago, beginning in 2014. And as a young company, we're growing very fast. In 2015, we get invested from Best Logistics. And since in 2016, we get two very big pilot projects in China, which is VIP Shop. It's e-commerce players in China. And in 2017, we get invested from Cainiao, which is the sub company of Alibaba. So because the e-commerce blooming in China, so we're growing very faster. We already make a couple around 100 projects around China, and we got invested by China Belgian founder. And in last year, we achieved also looking forward to do international projects around the world. So this is our product line in different types and application. You see the first in the right side, it's shift handling. So M40, M16, and M150 is for different kind of shape for the especially in the warehouse. And we also do some pallet handling, which is moving, transfer the pallet situation. And in Europe, we find some requirements for the work-bin stuff. We develop this intelligent work-bin picking AGV. And in the other hand, we also have sortation robotics and pallet moving storage AGV. And for the robotics, for the application, we can suitable for goods to person situation and a small package sortation and also work-bin handling. So the pallet handling is also one kind of. And so we are much more focused on the indoor transfer, specialized in the warehouse robotics solution. In the last couple of years, we already have a lot of projects around the world: Canada, USA, Germany, and Czechia. And we set up a couple office in USA, Germany, and Japan. And that's the situation at this moment. So our business is not only in China, but we are looking forward to move outside to make more projects. So here is some marketing situation because the e-commerce is growing and the online retail is growing very faster. So which make the e-commerce much more popular in the market. And for the e-commerce growing, since it's needed to be much more effective, so robotics will take place about the people. And in the other hand, the human resource, human labor costs will be higher, especially in Europe and the USA market. So that will be the cross points for the people and the robotics. And in the other hand, a lot of increase for the risk and in the finance and legal. So the robotics will be much more suitable for the market. And hopefully this will happening in the 3PL and all the logistic warehouse soon in the coming years. This is one of the largest intelligent indoor robotics warehouse in China. It's in Wuxi Tmall warehouse. Tmall is an e-commerce, typical e-commerce warehouse, and you see the movies around this. There's around 1,000 AGVs, and every day they need to handle around 90,000 orders, and the total it will be 600,000 package moving. Since we use a lot of robotics in this warehouse, so it could be 7 days, 24 hours works in this area. So what could you benefit from this kind of robotic solution? First, it can handle a larger amount of SKU and get quick response. And it doesn't matter how big your warehouse is, and the robotics can work non-stop inside the warehouse. And stable operation for 2 years is also very easily for required from the customer. And you can see it's get the effective 100% higher, and the number of the works will reduce 50%. And since the robotics be widely used, and the labor cost will also be reduced. Especially in China, we have Double 11 days, and like Black Friday in Western countries, this could help a lot in this kind of special situation. And for me, there's 2 examples what we make a robotics warehouse in this area, in this industry. You can see for this project, it's combined with robotic solution with other conveyor and storage solution. In this case, we have around 10 robotics. So we working in the 1,500 square meter, and we have sortation workstation 3, and the number of racks 300, more than 300. Special for this is sortation effective will reach around 600 box per hour. And since this is very effective and it's very certificate, it's very easy to accept by the let's say by the customers. Another project is in south of China. So this one is much more bigger. It's around 8,000 square meter for the warehouse, and we set about 64 robotics in this warehouse. Since this is much more heavy when we use M100, so it can handle around 1 ton rocks for this situation. And picking workstation also much more than the normal. And in this warehouse, we multiple layer racks and the pallet racks which be used in different situations. So, and much more technical side, we connect with WCS and the WMS in this system also. So which make it much more effective and make the customer much more easily to understand and to service for their products. So this is a very quick presentation. This is my last page. So if you have any question about the intelligent warehouse robotics, please let me know. I have a QR code in the right side and also my email. Thanks a lot for having me here. Thanks. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. William Lee, for your introduction about the application of logistic robots in pharma logistics and the huge global market potential. Thanks again to all our guest speakers for the knowledge and experience sharing. We had a very fruitful afternoon. The ending of this online conference is another start of our potential business cooperation. Hope more business and cooperation will be followed by our event. That's all for today's online conference. And thank you all our participants for your support and active participation. Goodbye.